about 9J. C-Dub on the beat. Back against the wall, CL20's knocking rated. IGI's tripping validate.
Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed, and like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. So with that being said, you guys already seen the trending topic about the NF member named Skip, the new TikTok sensation. Let's get right into that video. So with that being said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, always leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Check the links in the description for my Apple and Spotify music. Go ahead and run my streams up. And you can check out my playlist section on my YouTube channel and check out my music right there. Thank you guys for you guys' time. Most importantly, thank you guys for you guys' support. Now, this isn't the first occasion where Skip, utilized his means to put out a filter. And I'm not saying he's going out his way to tell this particular individual, hey, man, post it on TikTok, bro, a social network that reaches millions of followers. But most of those videos only get like maybe 400 or 500 views, 23 likes. So they're being unsupported anyways. But it's usually the YouTubers, people like us, that actually grab his filters and broadcast them so everybody can read them. So, we might be helping his message out. I might be discrediting him, but I'm still helping him out. I'm still posting about it like other people are as well. But let's get into the filter and what he said recently. So he says this: as a people, simply because of where we are from, those with a lust to conquer and control the land and soil of our origins, how could one ever say we have a healthy community or that we're in honor of their roles by standing year after year and permit the opposition's land grab of our soil? Let's break that down. So the NF believes that they're the rightful owners of Northern California, of the soil, of every Norteño barrio, every street. That's even talking about outside Norteño neighborhoods. They believe Northern California belongs to them, period. Even if there is no existing Norteño barrios there. That's how they think. So this land grab that they're talking about on the basis of the end of hostilities and them believing that this end of hostilities is going to allow the Mexican Mafia members to infiltrate Northern California, set up barrios, set up shop, set up trap houses, do their organized crime and their criminal enterprise in Northern California. So you know what that tells you? It's not about the infiltration and hurting Norteño gang members. It's about they're taking the money and they're taking the land of milk and honey. That's what he's really worried about. If you read between the lines, this call to arms asking Norteños to stop this peace treaty and go at it with the Sureños and clean up their neighborhoods, that's what an NF general is doing. Your guys' general, to those that are active. He wants you to pick up a gun, pick up a filero, go to war, throw your life away, throw your family's lives away, all in efforts to regain control of Northern California so they can profit from it. First of all, you're in the feds, my boy. This is state jurisdiction, so allow the state, the NF brass in the state, to do what they do since the jurisdictional boundaries have already been established. But this is another individual in the feds who he thinks is the overall general wanting to take power and control over the streets of California. Don't misinterpret it as he's just doing it on behalf and the benefit of the people. No. Say if the North and the South go at it and the carnales go at it and take firm and what he said and say, you know what, the homie's right. This is our soil. This is our land. Northern California, we got to get rid of everybody. The NF and the state go back on lockdown. Along with the Mexican Mafia, they're going to go back on lockdown too. So all this fighting over the yards is going to disallow the state faction to actually regain control of the streets of the street regiments. What do you think the federal system's going to do? Oh, while they're locked down and they're fighting amongst each other and they're worried about power plays and they're worried about negotiations, they're worried about getting dope in phones and taking control of yards or establishing yards where they don't coexist with one another. Oh, that's going to take up years. And the federal faction is going to do what they do, the way they've been doing it recently on these medium and lower yards, not the USPs, the penitentiaries where most of the NFs are housed and they can't go to these medium or lowers. They've been making people on the under. There's a lot of NF sleepers that are being made, told to keep quiet about their status. There's even NF members that made it to camp in the feds. And they're going to make all these sleepers that have dates, that are young-minded, that are going home, and create federal faction regiments in the streets while the state's too busy going to war. Just another power play to me. And if you want to talk about, the opposition taking over the soil, even when the NF brass pre-Black Widow operation was in the Pelican Bay, what do you think was already happening? And why do you think that it was happening? A lot of Sureño neighborhoods popping up in Norteño barrios, in Norteño cities. Think about it. Every time North and South went to war on the yards, pre-2000, what do you think the state NF brass said every time we went to war? Hey, what'd you guys go to war for? We want a full report. And then once we explain why we're going to war with the Southerners, hey, do what you can to exercise diplomacy. And then when you get off lockdown, be I have 60, take a stance, but don't do nothing. Try to negotiate so we can get back to business. See, even before Black Widow operation, the NF and the Mexican Mafia had their little talks in the back to make sure that the yards never went to war, that we had to coexist with one another. But if you want to talk about the origins and our doctrines, doesn't our doctrine stipulate to establish a safe and secure environment without the threat or interference of the opposition? That was supposed to mean that when the birth of the NR came into effect to go at it with the Southerners, we were supposed to be fighting the Southerners to establish these yards, to have our own yards. So when the NF was able to come out, they have yards to go to without the Mexican Mafia and the Sureños engaging upon them. That was the ideal goal of the Norteño movement. It was to have our own yards so we can do our time peacefully, safely, and the carnales can come out and we all can do time together. But even then, that was just a figment of our imaginations. Because think about it. This is a filter and calling arms. He wants everybody to bear arms and pick up a blade and go to war and fight for the tierra. But that's only because in the federal system, they don't walk the yard with them. So you're really in a war that's taking place, but you guys will rarely ever see each other because SIS documents everybody in the federal system of who you are and what you are, and they divide you guys. They divide. You'll never really cross paths with one another. If you do, it's rare. So you got the Mexican Mafia and the Sureños on one yard, Norteños and NFs on different yards, programming with different FAMAs. It differentiates from prison to prison. But as of today, the NF and the feds only got 7 yards. 2 of them are USPs where the NFs really go, and the rest of the yards are Norteños without any leadership because they dismantled the idea of Norteño soldados. They're not even educating the people. So if you're a Norteño and you want to be part of this movement, you're becoming a straight carnal. But in order to do that, you got to go to the only remaining 2 USPs where they exist, abandoning the rest of Norteños on the yard to really just fend for themselves. This is another indication that the federal faction does not agree with the state, and it's going to cause a lot of confusion. It's bad enough Norteños are already getting removed for supporting the state or supporting the feds. It's bad enough carnales lost their careers over the state and feds deeming one another. And now that they're trying to come to terms, forget whoever got deemed in the process. Now you got the federal faction saying, hey, bro, let's go to war. You guys need to go to war. They're taking over our land. And what's crazy, I told you in one of my other videos, I talked to a Sureño from South Los Angeles. And they had a meeting. And a carnal, MM member said specifically, there's going to be some NF members sending crew members down here, down south. They're going to be picking up dope and taking it back up north. If anybody hits any of these Norteños down south, they lose their career. I explained that. Now, it was never stipulated like, hey, bro, if an NF tries to establish a regiment in LA, take them out. That hasn't reached that far in discussions. All they said was there's going to be Norteños coming down, picking up for the big homies and sending it back up north. Leave them alone. That was a meeting that took place with an active Mexican Mafia member who's on the streets right now that paroled from the feds that's working with his state brothers, and they advised him, hey, man, these NF members are going to pick up the dope, leave them alone. Now, I don't know if the end of hostilities is established, the NF telling the Mexican Mafia, hey, bro, if you guys ever come up north, it's cool. But think about it. There's a made Mexican Mafia member from La Posada and Salinas, a well-documented member, and it's been verified. But even before the end of hostilities, bro, you had Sureño barrios up north, plain and simple. That's nobody's fault. I'm not going to sit here and say, man, those are all the Norteños' fault for not putting in work and picking up a gun. Hey, bro, times have changed. The Norteño mentality has changed. First and foremost, all this feuding within the NF, Nuestra Familia, the way they go back and forth, how years of destroying the Norteño movement, they have redefined the origins of the Norteño movement. It is nothing like back in the day, so you can't talk about origins when literally you slaughtered and destroyed the movement in itself. Instead of looking at it from an outward perspective, like, we're losing our tierra, we're losing our land, we're going to be losing our business. Both sides need to stop and think about is why are we losing our manpower so much? You got a lot of Nortenos that are dropping out in the feds because of the state and federal factions' little internal bloody feud. But even back then, you had a lot of Nortenos walking away just based on the dirty politics, the scandalous dealings, what the NF was doing, who they were clearing. Come on now. Norteños nowadays, from all the ones that I talk to, don't even know how to be a Norteño. Because they're too busy worried about what their big homies are doing and what they're saying and how they're discrediting one another, demoting one another, stripping one another of their status. What are these young Norteños supposed to think? He says right here, the land belongs to the people. We as a people and our families have a right to it. And you signed up, or have you forgotten who or what you really are? Have the transitions of doctrine been soiled as to surrender one's own homeland over to a foe, uncontested by my bros? Is that acceptable today? These are not the values and principles that we've given our lives for. Where are my bros at? Where is that fire in your hearts? Do not abandon our baby ends. They are helpless and blind without you. Help them. Just don't look down on them. We are all an extension of one another from the lowest to the highest. One love, one union. The ball in the future is in our court. Clench your teeth and retrieve what is rightfully ours till the box drops. I'm going to get more into this video a little later, but I want to end it on this note. Like I said, Norteños don't know how to be Norteños nowadays because of so much change, so much transitions. So you're talking about the transitions of doctrines, but think about the transitions of the Norteño mentality back from the 80s and 90s up until today. You redefined their whole identity. It's only because in the NF's perspective, that Norteño identity belongs to them. They're the rightful owners of Norteño identity. So whatever happened to teaching Norteños how to be Norteños and identify as Norteños when you're too busy dictating what a Norteño is year after year after year, changing it from hermanos to ensos to regular Norteños now. They don't know who they are no more. They don't know their own history because you guys keep rewriting the doctrines, revising the doctrines, revising the bonds. Talking about bond number 13, now it's going to be mandatory that any Norteño paroles from the pen to the streets, they have to take care of their homies in the back. They have to give up some money. I never looked at the peace treaty as a surrender. Like, why is it wrong that the NF and the state finally said, you know what, we're tired of the state. We're tired of the indeterminate shoe. We want to go out to the yard and try to establish something for ourselves because we're losing more and more power getting stuck in the back while the Mexican mafia was gaining all this power still being stuck in the back. It might be a power play on their end, but it might be a different power play for the Mexican mafia. Who knows? I don't know the Trojan horse that's being done. But it's okay for the NF federal faction just because they got indicted, they can live over there good. Phones, using all the dope they want. There is no hard drug policy in the feds. The homies can do dope. They can smoke dope. They can smoke K2. The homie told me they were like the NF mattresses are unrolled. They're sleeping in their bed with their Crocs and the shoes. He said the program is way different. So it's okay for the NF to live lavish in the feds, and whatever connections, whatever regiments they gain outside of the state of California, they're not even sharing with their brothers in the states because of this internal feud. But yet they're quick to take over what the state NF can't get control of, and still continue the disagreement and feud between the state and fed faction while the Norteños are just collateral damage. That's why you're not going to see Norteños pick up arms. That's why before the end of hostilities, a lot of Norteños didn't really care to put in work on Southerners. I think you guys need to come to an understanding that a lot of these Norteños out here don't really care what you guys do. They're out here living life. Now, if they're forced and to do time and they have to go in the penal system, then yeah, they're going to conform to the ideologies. They're going to conform to that Norteño identity that they adopted. But I think in 2023, a lot of Norteños realize that you guys believe you guys own them, that you guys own the patents. You guys trademarked the Norteño identity. And they're starting to realize that all you guys are is one big dictatorship. This filter to bear arms isn't in the NF's mentality like, damn, bro, our people are going to get overpowered and overran by these Sureño Varios. We need to protect them. No. You want young Norteños to catch cases, rid all Sureños of Northern California, so all that money goes back into your pockets and on your books and in your NF banks. That's all it really is. Never mind the fact that there's actually Norteños now in Calapat, Donovan, Centinela, whose numbers are real low, because I'm talking to Sureños in those facilities that let me know about the numbers. So you want to encourage engagement and war between North and South, to get our land back, to get our yards back, when you got a small amount of homies, young Nortenos in down south prisons? Do you realize how vulnerable these young Nortenos are? So you're willing to sacrifice these young Nortenos that are going to get mauled by hundreds of Sureños and the Mexican mafia that's down there, just so you can gain some streets and some states and some yards up north. That's how these big homies think. That's how expendable a young Norteño is to these NF members who want to fight for the soil. First of all, bro, you're doing life. You're not coming home. Establish what you need to establish in Oklahoma and Arizona and Florida and those regiments that you established for your guys' selves. It's just so you guys can get money. Allow the state to be leadership. That's the problem. You don't want the state to be leadership. If they feel it's in the right interest of the Norteño struggle and the NF in the states, then so be it. And whatever happens, whatever repercussions, whatever consequences they face, that's for them to deal with. Norteños are going to blame nobody else but the NF for their dictatorship and their false leadership. That's what's going to happen at the end of the day. Now, if it comes out rightfully so, where everybody wins, then cool. I don't want to be on YouTube talking about Norteños are getting hurt by Sureños or Sureños are getting hurt by Norteños. I really don't want to do that. But this is coming from an individual who's isolated from the Mexican mafia, right? But I want to end the video on this note. I didn't want to do this a while back when they provided the information, but an ex-NF came forward and wanted to talk to me about something. And then they started bringing up facts. Well, in the book, right, I believe it was Boxer Paradigm Media News Books, he provides a chrono that was by Dancing Bear back in the 80s. And it stipulates, at one point, DB, Dancing Bear, even attempted to file legal action against the Intel unit for putting him in PC, but this was quickly thwarted when an SSU Special Service unit out of Rancho Cordova, California released a CDC 128B chrono, state prison for him, documenting an incident that took place back in September 8, 1982. Remember those dates? The document detailed how DB told an officer in San Quentin that he felt his life was in danger from Mexican mafia members and was contemplating protective custody. Along with the CDC chrono, there is also a handwritten note to a lieutenant signed by DB. Now, this is what an ex-NF member that was made in the 80s said. This ain't coming from me. I'm just telling you guys a story that we all talked about amongst ourselves. That we had I had heard about this on the mainlands. A lot of the end souls used to try to like validate it or discredit it. It used to always go back and forth. So I didn't think much of it, but it was this. He said, I got a story for you. This is the good skip they all praise. I got to San Quentin by myself from Tracy in 82 and 83. Went out to the enemy yard 4 times and got down. Last time got stuck, but then some C's came in 83 and 84, and Skip and Tibbs and a few others are put in A-section PC. They get at me and I'm in C-section fighting. I ask, hey, what the F? Skip says, hey, they have to do what they have to do to survive. I tell Skip straight up, so I fight while you C's are in PC, and he never got an answer. This is coming from an ex-NF member from San Jose. His name's well known. I'm just not going to put him out there for, YouTube purposes. But trust me, now, before I even received these 2 kites, I was already familiar with that kind of situation. I was already familiar that was actually a common practice. Something they don't want to teach to the end souls, the Norteños out there, because they don't want to make that a common practice either. But they already seen that it has become a common practice with their own soldados, with their own people. Recognize at some point, bro, that the Norteños are not willing to fight for that soil no more. They're not willing to fight for that cause. And that's nobody's fault but the NF fighting amongst each other, deeming good Norteños, solid Norteños, that the idea of the cause is nothing but a lost hope. You guys want to fight because you guys got nothing else to fight for because of your life sentences? Don't encourage these young Norteños that don't want to play no part of it no more. Don't force their hand and get them hurt. Their power feud between the Mexican mafia and your guys' selves that's dated back in the 50s, you guys continue to fight that war. Stop subjecting everybody else to shed blood and spill blood and lose their lives and lose their careers and lose their freedom for it. Some people just don't want to do it no more. So with that being said, like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.